could hardly believe my eyes. The sugarcane field that had once been my family's hope now lay in ruins. A battlefield devastated by the hooves of a wild boar herd. A whole year's labor destroyed in an instant. What is the price of peace? Today's hunt will answer that. The boar's destruction had exceeded all tolerance, and conventional methods proved useless against their cunning. So we opted for a more decisive approach. Yesterday, we set tannerite explosives at the crossings the boars frequented. The successive blasts shook the area, taking out most of the herd instantly. Yet, some survived, and these survivors became our target today. We knew the surviving boars would no longer move as a herd. Instead, they would hide, stay alert, and act unpredictably. That's why we established a pincer strategy to force them into the open. Silence fell as we took positions on the high hillside, and the hunting dogs were released into the forest. Soon, a dark shape dashed across the open meadow below. Could it escape? Determined not to let it slip away, I locked onto the target and squeezed the trigger. The rifle barked as it crossed the clearing, dropping the prey instantly. That impact alone drove another boar from its hiding place. From another direction, a shadow surged forward. The boar, disoriented by the chaos, ran straight into its fate. A decisive shot rang out, and it was down. The double pressure of barking dogs and successive gunfire turned the forest into a giant trap, forcing the remaining prey to move. We climbed higher to overlook dense undergrowth, a perfect boar hideout. Sure enough, one tried to remain concealed, but it could not escape the eyes of skilled hunters. The crosshairs rested squarely on its body. Its fate was sealed in that instant. The chaos didn't end. A nearby bush shook violently as another boar charged straight into the jaws of death, unaware. I patiently waited until it entered a perfect firing window, then delivered a swift, clean trigger pull, locking the target down. Gunfire once again stirred the forest, forcing the remaining boars to flee. There, another one, about 20 meters away, breaking cover. I tracked every step. As it hesitated, the bullet cut the air, but the beast still managed a brief escape. Putting frustration aside, we pressed the hunt as the evening light waned. About 30 minutes later, the radio crackled. A clever boar was trying to break the eastern encirclement. I received orders immediately and moved to block its escape. There it was! As soon as it happened, gunfire erupted. Still, the animal had strength, frantically running down the hillside. but it didn't know that one of my teammates was waiting at the bottom. Finn, stationed as the final blockade, had received the alert and took position, rifle ready. The moment the boar came into view, he fired. The rifle roared decisively, allowing no chance of escape this time. Tired but satisfied. That's how it feels at the end of a long day. The battle may be over, but the lessons in coordination, strategy, and courage remain. Central Florida backcountry, where the thick palm forests and muddy wetlands create the perfect battleground for wild hogs to run rampant. These beasts multiply fast, invading gardens, wrecking irrigation systems, and leaving heavy damage in their wake. Faced with the threat of losing entire crops, landowners turn to us, hoping to reclaim their land from this invasion. A challenging hunt lies ahead. Join us as we embark on this heart-pounding pursuit. Before dawn fully breaks, our truck quietly rolls toward the forest where the wild hogs usually begin their destruction. With seasoned experience, we know their habits and active hours inside out. Every detail is meticulously planned, each step, each breath, carefully measured as we move into ambush positions. Minutes later, the target reveals itself. Steady on the bead, I squeeze the trigger. Quick, clean, decisive. The beast drops instantly. That opening shot, dead on, fuels our resolve to restore peace to this land. We press silently deeper into the forest, tracking fresh hog prints in the damp earth. Not a sound escapes as the team locks onto the trail, eyes sharp, scanning every palm thicket and shadowed nook. "There it is," I whisper. Like muscle memory, I raise my rifle, line up the shot. The gun cracks, a clean hit, and the hog falls on the spot. Elsewhere, Kevin skillfully sets bait to lure the herd into view, choosing an ambush point with clear sightlines. As the hogs gorge, he quietly takes aim at the biggest one. A shot rings out, the target drops, and chaos erupts among the rest. Seeing Kevin's tactic work so well, we quickly expand our trap network and split up to cover key spots. This section is ours to protect. Once again, hogs fall into our traps, and with swift, decisive shots, we neutralize more threats, helping preserve this land from destruction. Meanwhile, at a frequent hog crossing, Kevin's crew stands ready. The moment targets appear, a precise shot drops one. The rest panic and bolt, but every escape route is blocked. Ready rifles cut off their getaway, ending their desperate flight. Following tracks, Kevin freezes, spotting a large gathering of hogs. Without hesitation, he fires, taking down one beast. Quick on the reload, he tries to press the attack, but the herd outsmarts us, slipping deep into the woods. Determining the direction, Kevin signals us to move deeper into the dense jungle where the hogs vanished. The tangled terrain and thick brush make tracking nearly impossible, if not for our hunting dogs. Guided by the dog's barks, suddenly, a giant hog bursts out. Instinct kicks in. Finger tightens on the trigger. The beast drops cold. Pushing through dense palms, we hunt down the survivors hiding nearby. More sharp shots ring out, each one a message. This land is no longer safe ground for wild hogs. For the past few days, wild boars have become a nightmare for my family. They've torn up the soil, trampled over crops, and in just 3 days, over 15 acres have been severely destroyed, causing losses of tens of thousands of dollars. Families around the area are on the verge of losing their entire harvest. There's no choice but to end this tonight, before everything is too late. Will we succeed? Let's see how this challenging night unfolds. As the clock struck 6 p.m., the familiar hunting vehicle sped along the rugged roads, carrying with it a palpable sense of tension. Equipped with state-of-the-art weapons, binoculars, and specialized tools, we quickly surrounded the field. Through my binoculars, I spotted the wild boars gathering in the distance. We decided to strike from the edges, leaving them no chance to escape. Adjusting my scope, I squeezed the trigger. The sound of gunfire echoed. Within minutes, the field fell silent, with only the lifeless bodies of the boars remaining. Without stopping, we pushed deeper, determined to wipe out the wild boar herd and restore peace to the local community. "15 minutes passed, and the next target appeared quickly. I got into position, my eyes never leaving the target. As soon as it entered the crosshairs, I fired. Every shot was calculated, accurate, and powerful, bringing the boar down perfectly. In the stillness of the night, the massive figures of the boars fell one by one. Technological tools like the infrared binoculars proved invaluable, making the hunt faster and more effective than ever before. In an instant, dark shapes appeared clearly through the binoculars, spreading across the field. The gunfire rang out, each shot hitting its mark, as the boars dropped one after another. With every use of these tools, our chances of winning this tough battle grew stronger. As the night wore on and the clock struck 10 p.m., the wild boars appeared in greater numbers. Knowing their feeding habits, we anticipated they would gather along the edge of the field, and that's where we would strike a major blow. The wild boars flooded the field. Orders to attack were immediately given. 3, 2, 1. The sound of gunfire erupted, rapid and continuous, across the area. The coordinated attack was incredibly precise and effective. In the quiet of the night, everything returned to order, and once again, hope was restored for the local villagers. After the barrage of gunfire, the wild boars seemed to recognize the danger and hesitated to venture out into the field. Instead, they took cover in the dense brush along the field's edge, waiting for a new opportunity. Realizing this, we quickly divided into teams, each of us moving in to cut off their escape one by one. There! I locked onto the target, squeezed the trigger, and the boar fell. The gunfire continued, each shot targeting the dark shadows, gradually closing the trap and leaving the wild boars no chance to escape. Another signal came through, reminding us that the wild boars weren't giving up. Our steps quickened, and the tension rose to new heights. Gunfire rang out sharply, stopping a fresh assault from the wild boars and maintaining our control over the situation in the cold, quiet night. As the gunfire slowed and finally stopped, the field was littered with the bodies of the wild boars. All our efforts had culminated in a complete victory, bringing new hope to this land. Weeks of relentless rain had turned the forest floor into a soaked, crumbling mess, sweeping away the rotting leaves and food sources the wild boars once relied on. With their shelters compromised and bellies empty, they had no choice. They stormed toward nearby villages in search of food. What followed was not just hunger, it was destruction. Fields were trampled, crops were devastated, the peaceful lives of locals thrown into chaos. Recognizing this threat, we knew we couldn't stand by. This wasn't just a hunt, it was a mission. We packed up and hit the road. The goal? Defend the land and restore balance. After miles of rough roads, We finally arrived at the designated hunting zone. The hounds wasted no time. Their noses caught the scent, and their barking shattered the silence of the woods. We moved fast, closing in. There it was. I took aim, locked in, and squeezed the trigger. The bullet ripped through the morning air. One shot, one drop. Our first takedown. It marked the start of a challenging but determined pursuit ahead. Deeper into the forest we moved, terrain thickening, tension rising. Soon enough, the hounds struck again. With trained precision, they pinned down another target. It was my cue. I raised the rifle close range. The crack of the shot was sharp and final. Another clean takedown. It was more than just a kill. It was a statement. We were in control now. The complex terrain forced us into a more defensive formation. Time passed, then shadows appeared, more of them, creeping in from all directions. I adjusted the scope, locked onto a target, and fired. Direct hit. The remaining beasts scattered in panic. I sent the signal. Teams moved into position. Shots rang out across the forest like thunder, each one a mark of precision and coordination. The chaos was contained. We held the line. We swept the area. Something didn't feel right. Every sense was on high alert. I listened to the wind, to the whispers of the forest. Then came the smell of the pungent musk of a boar and the sound, faint but certain. Target identified. I moved like clockwork. One bullet, cold and calculated, sealed the fate of another beast. With no hesitation, we pressed on. More threats to eliminate, more ground to defend. Deep in the woods where shadows blend with tangled branches, I found myself in prime position. Quiet, hidden, alert. I crept into an area known for heavy boar traffic. Suddenly, movement. A flash of dark fur cut through the trees. I locked on. The shot was swift, ruthless, final. Out here, survival belongs to those who stay sharp. One heartbeat separates the hunter from the hunted. With the tension still running high, I refocused. Every step was calculated, every breath steady. Then came the dogs howling, closing in on another target. This was it. I moved in. One more shot, precise and merciless. As the woods returned to silence, the lesson lingered. Success isn't just about firepower, it's about preparation, teamwork, and unwavering focus. The battle ended, but the fire in our hearts, that burns on. Recently, chaos struck the city as a dangerous herd of wild boars stormed through, leaving destruction and fear in their wake. Several people were injured in the attacks, and panic spread fast. In response, the government issued an emergency order, tasking our hunting unit with tracking down the beasts and eliminating the threat before it got worse. With a burning resolve to protect our people, we set out on a mission that would test both courage and endurance. Would this journey bring safety back to the city, or plunge us deeper into danger? Let's find out. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon as we made our way up the rugged southern hillside. After a quick scan of the area, John moved ahead on a narrow trail, cutting off the path of the shadows flickering below. Oh, this was the golden moment. John squeezed the trigger. Each shot cracked through the crisp morning air, locking onto the target with fierce precision. Yet even with his quick aim, he couldn't quite match the incredible speed and cunning of the beasts darting through the brush. A message from John came through the radio. "Boars are nearby, stay sharp." His warning came just in time. My pulse quickened as I steadied the rifle. The instant the beast appeared, a single unannounced shot tore through the silence. It dropped where it stood, brought down cleanly under the force of the rifle's power. We pressed on, eyes sweeping across every movement on the slope. Within moments, a dark shape flickered in the distance. I adjusted the scope, focused tight, and squeezed. The bullet struck true, millimeter perfect. The sound of the hit echoed like a victory drum through the trees. Suddenly, the sensors lit up. Another group of boars, moving fast on the western ridge. John reacted instantly, steady hands and veteran instincts guiding each motion. One clear shot later, and the ridge went silent again. It was a masterclass in control and precision. No time to rest, we kept advancing. Our patience finally paid off. When the next target appeared in range, the shot flew straight to the mark, clean and final. Each round found its target, cutting down the danger before it could spread. For every boar that fell, the safety of the city drew one step closer. We continued sweeping the hillside, eyes locked on every shadow. Within moments, another target appeared. The barrels lifted, no room for hesitation. One round fired, striking home, but another slipped away into the woods. Without missing a beat, the team spread out, closing off escape routes in every direction. Every movement was smooth, disciplined, like a well-rehearsed dance. Every plan anticipated, every action in sync. That's how hunters survive out here. As the day drew to a close and fatigue crept into our legs, the sounds of the forest began to fade. We finally lowered our rifles, knowing the mission was complete. The unseen sacrifices, the silent determination, together they had driven back the threat. For now, peace was restored. The hills felt quiet again, just the way they should be. When you think of Florida, your mind probably jumps straight to sun-soaked beaches. But beyond the shoreline, this land stretches out into vast fields and sprawling farms, and with them comes a serious challenge: wild hogs wreaking havoc. These cunning creatures use the rolling hills and dense thickets as perfect cover to hide and multiply. Today, join my crew and me as we venture deep into these rugged backcountry terrains, exploring the landscape while taking on the mission to protect local crops and livelihoods. Our journey begins at dawn, when the early mist still clings to the hilltops. This is prime time. Wild hogs are most active after a night spent foraging. We have to make the most of this golden window, because though their vision is poor, once they catch the scent of danger, they vanish like ghosts. Dawn bore witness to a fierce showdown. The beast charged down the hillside with fierce vitality. My shot found its mark, but it refused to give in. I had to fire a second round, taking down that stubborn creature for good. Not a bad way to kick things off, right? Across the hillside, a lone target moves steadily. The world narrows through the scope, just the crosshairs and the prey. Without a moment's hesitation, David gently squeezes the trigger, and the bullet completes its mission flawlessly. The quarry is down before it even knows what hit it. They sow chaos everywhere. We plant seeds of peace in return. On this barren patch of territory, a solid shadow moves steadily. Suddenly, it halts, wild instincts warning of danger. Its hesitation is my chance. No way I'm letting it slip away. I squeeze the trigger, and bam! The curtain falls as the villain meets its fate, the destructive wild hog. It stopped for a moment of doubt, and I acted to make the land richer once again. Leaving the hills behind, our pickup truck carried us down to lower ground. Here, the distance between us and the prey could be just a few steps. When a full-grown wild hog weighing hundreds of pounds bursts out from the brush, there's no room for joking around. Out of the brush, the wild hog suddenly charges. The only gap it has to cross is the narrow trail, and that's John's one and only shot. The moment it hits the edge of the woods, his bullet flies, putting an end to its desperate run. It runs on instinct, no strategy, while we win with one bold, skilled shot. The rustling in the brush signals the prey is about to appear, and I'm the last line of defense. When that massive wild hog tears through the undergrowth, charging at me like a suicide bomb, there's no time for fear. At the moment it's just an arm's length away, the shot rings out, taking it down on the spot. Does this pressure and ambush tactic deserve a perfect 10, guys? The tension thickened as dusk fell, with dogs barking loudly, signaling the prey was about to be pushed into the open. I gripped my rifle tight, ready for whatever was coming. Then it appeared. The first shot hit true, but the hog still charged toward the woods. The second shot ended its run forever, a perfect ending to a full day of hunting. Closing out a successful day's work. Our powerful Tesla Cybertruck carried us home, the bed packed full of hard-earned trophies.